Chilling tales for dark nights.
Want to make sure you never miss a Chilling Tales for Dark Nights video again? Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell to turn on notifications.
It's 7:35 p.m., May 27th. The incomparable Sheriff Ron Ball and the stalwart Deputy Ernest Dingle on duty.
Unit 1, we got a 1070 at the Royalty Deluxe Luxury Mobile Estates. I repeat, a 1070. Unit 1, do you copy?
Sheriff Ron Ball looked at Dingle. No more than 5 minutes after they'd parked for a little snack, and here comes a 1070.
What's a 1070?
Dingle asked.
Prowler. Some sick son of a bitch with idle hands and a hard-on decides to go skulking around.
Unit 1, do you copy?
Ball fingered the button on his radio.
Say, Frankie, why do you always gotta call me Unit 1 when you know damn well there ain't no Unit 2 or 3 or anyone else?
Sorry, Sheriff, just following protocol is all. Trailer 17. It's supposed to be a 1070 in progress, sir.
Following protocol. Now, ain't that a fanciful idea? Problem is, Frankie, the deputy and I are currently responding to a 7-Eleven.
A pause.
A 7-Eleven, sir? I'm unfamiliar.
It means we're having a couple of hot dogs by the 7-Eleven. They never taught you that one in dispatch class?
Another pause.
Lady of the house says there's some fella hanging around outside, sir. Supposed to be peeping in the window while she's in the bathroom.
Good heavens.
Dingle said.
That's not nice.
No, deputy, that's not nice at all. If it were, they wouldn't have a radio code for it.
Why do you suppose that is? Never have a radio code for no one doing nothing nice.
Besides a 7-Eleven, anyways.
Yeah, you're right about that, Sheriff. It sure is nice having a 7-Eleven.
Unit 1, do you copy?
Go ahead.
It appears the suspect is still on scene, caught up somehow. Something about being stuck in a toilet bowl, sir.
A toilet bowl?
Ball said.
You mean the suspect got inside?
Negative. The toilet bowl is supposed to be outside, Sheriff.
Well, I'd have to disagree with that.
Dingle said.
The toilet bowl is most certainly supposed to be inside.
No, I think what Frankie is trying to say, Deputy, is that this particular one just happens to be outside.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Unit 1, do you copy?
10-4, Frankie. The deputy and I are on our way.
Ball frowned at his half-eaten hot dog.
You want to finish this, Deputy?
Dingle recoiled at the suggestion.
Well, I can't eat after you, Sheriff. I could catch the Ronavirus.
Well, goddamn.
Sheriff Ball tossed his hot dog out the window and hit the cherries. Then they pulled out onto the road. Royalty Deluxe Luxury Mobile Estates was only a mile down the interstate. I happen to live there, but that's besides the point. Ball cut the siren and they pulled into the gravel entrance. Illuminated in the strobing lights as they approached Trailer 17 was the unmistakable figure of a man in distress. As described, he had one foot on the ground and the other one in a toilet bowl. By the flowers and dirt scattered around it, the commode had clearly been used as a planter. The tank still had tomatoes dangling out of it. Ball left the lights on and stepped out of the cruiser. Dingle followed. The man's eyes glowed in the lights like a raccoon's caught in a dumpster. An Indian feller, complete with the turban thing you sometimes see 'em wearing. Not the usual kind of feller you see around here. Then again, it wasn't the usual thing to see a fella with his foot in a toilet bowl either, particularly outdoors. All in all, there was nothing usual about it.
Evening.
Ball said.
Say, you happen to notice anyone prowling around here tonight? There's supposed to have been someone sneaking around, peeking in windows at innocent ladies going to the bathroom. You, notice anything like that?
Well, damn, Sheriff. I think this might be the very man right here.
This nice fella? No, couldn't be. I mean, could it, sir? A nice little man like yourself?
The man didn't answer, only continued trying to wrench his leg out of the bowl. By the depths of it, he must have had his foot jammed right up in the gooseneck.
That's him, all right, peeping son of a bitch.
A lady came out the front door of the trailer, clad in a cut-off Brittany Fox concert tee and hot pants. Dingle took off his hat.
I was leaning over to put a suppository in, and I seen this creep peeping in the window.
At the sound of her anger, the man intensified his efforts to get loose. A few tomatoes fell off the vine and rolled in the gravel.
Now, you're sure it was this man right here? Couldn't have been someone else who looked just like him?
That's him, all right, goddamn peeping Injun. And look what he's done to my garden.
Now,
Ball said.
easy enough misstep when it's so dark outside.
He was a peeping in my window, standing on the toilet there just to get up high enough. See? This is my bathroom right here.
The gal pointed at the window just above the toilet tank. Ball took out his flashlight and shone it through the glass. He wrinkled his mustache.
Well, you're certainly right about that. That there is indeed the bathroom. What do you make of that, Dingle?
The deputy still clutched his hat to his chest. He was regarding the angry woman with grave empathy.
Dingle?
Well, yes, Sheriff. I'd say this very lovely young lady was victimized. Caught this fella red-handed. And if I didn't have so much respect for the system of law and order, I'd shoot him my damn self.
A pause. Ball raised an eyebrow.
Peeping son of a bitch.
The gal said.
Give me your gun there, and I'll do it myself.
The Indian was thrashing wildly now.
Now,
Ball said.
let's not make any rash decisions before we decide just how 1070 the situation is. So, what's your name there, character?
He lay a hand on the Indian's shoulder, who seemed to freeze at his touch. They met eyes.
My name? Unless you prefer I keep on calling you character.
Or peeping son of a bitch.
The man seemed to understand all at once that he wasn't going anywhere. He let out a great breath and said,
I am Hardy Sindu. I am innocent.
The hell he is.
Well, hold on, Mr. Hardy Sindhu. I'm sure you got a perfectly good explanation why you've been walking through the Royalty Deluxe Mobile Estates at night and got your foot caught in this incidental toilet. All you gotta do is tell us what that is, and I'm sure we can all just put this thing to bed. And no one has to get shot, and I can go have a hot dog and not have any paperwork to do. So why don't we just...
He's a goddamn peeper. All over the park, the girls have been saying someone's skulking around at night. He's a repeat goddamn offender. He saw my bare ass.
Dingle shifted uncomfortably, lowered his hat to his midsection.
I'm sure sorry, ma'am. It's a good thing we came when we did. If it weren't for law and order, heaven knows I'd string him up right where he stands.
I've got a rope right goddamn inside.
Well, come on now. Let him at least explain himself. Hardy, what are you doing out here so late at night?
Hardy looked back and forth between the sheriff and the angry woman.
Looking for spice,
He said.
Looking for spice? As in spices? Yes.
That sounds reasonable.
Dingle said. The gal shot the deputy an angry look. Dingle changed tacks.
Reasonably illegal, that is.
I'll go get the rope. Unless you just want to shoot him.
Ma'am,
Ball interrupted.
I understand you're upset about what you believe happened. But say Hardy here was truly looking for spices when he just happened to step accidentally into your garden pot here. I mean, would that really be a killing offense?
Have a look around, Sheriff. Where you suppose he'd find any goddamn spices?
Ball straightened up, pulled out his flashlight and panned slowly over the lot. Gravel. Not so much as a clover peeking out of the gravel. He turned the light on Hardy.
Mister, I'd like to give you the benefit of the doubt, but the more I study things, I've found we're completely surrounded by no spices at all.
Just then, another set of headlights swung into the lot. A black sedan pulled up, and a woman dressed in traditional Indian garb got out of the driver's seat.
Oh, dear God in heaven, why does this happen to me?
Hardy! I knew it! You are peeping again!
I am not peeping. I do not do peeping.
Disregarding everyone else, she hurried to the toilet and swatted them.
You do peep. I know you are doing peeping.
I do not do peeping.
Yes, you do.
She swatted him again.
Always doing peeping.
I am looking for spice.
You are not looking for spice. You do not do cooking.
You do not do cooking anymore. Now I must cook. That is why I am looking.
She turned to the sheriff.
I do cook. He is lying. He is peeping. Bad man. Bastard guy.
I am not a bastard guy.
Ball noted Clarissa's knees were knocking together. The look on her face had changed from purely angry to half angry and half something else.
Impository's working,
she said.
Well, goddamn.
Don't you worry, Miss Clarissa. You go right ahead and do your business. We'll just stay right here and make sure this bastard guy stays right where he is.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. I'm gone.
And with a move more evocative of the Matrix, the gal was back in the trailer, the screen door wobbling in her wake. Dingle's eyes panned the trailer wall as if to follow her inside with X-ray vision. Ball crossed his arms and addressed the enervated Indian woman, still staring daggers at her ensnared hubby.
Well, now that that's settled, let's say we just load Mr. Sindhu into the back of your car and call it a nice evening.
The woman's eyes went wide. Everyone paused.
What's the matter?
Ball said.
I think you might be overlooking a few logisticals, Sheriff.
Well, like what?
He's kind of stuck for one.
Ball re-examined the situation. His stomach grumbled.
You could grab under the tank there, and I'll grab under the bowl. As far as Hardy goes, he can't weigh so much. How much you weigh there, Hardy? $1.25 tops? Figure we'll load you right in the trunk there, and you and your lovely wife here can hash this out at home.
He is criminal. Bastard guy. This is last straw. Must go to jail.
Well, now, Mrs. Sindhu, I understand you're upset about your husband's little foot, but I'm sure there's a good plumber can snake that right out of there. Maybe not this time of night, but you could call one right in the morning.
Foot? I don't care about foot. He is bastard guy. Don't want foot, don't want husband. He is peeping criminal. I want divorce.
Now,
Ball said.
I'm sure he didn't mean all those things about you not cooking. No sense running a beautiful marriage over a...
Ball looked for Dingle to add an encouraging word on the situation, but he was presently preoccupied. An ever-diligent deputy, he was on tippy-toe by the bathroom window monitoring the victim's well-being.
Deputy?
Dingle snapped back to attention, holding his hat over his crotch like the lid on some rabid animal trap. Hardy watched him with disdain.
Yeah, Sheriff?
Let's get our friend here loaded in the car.
I told you, I do not want him. Bastard guy.
Why do you keep calling me bastard guy? I am not a bastard guy. I am not peeping.
You are bullshitting again. Shitting bull.
I am not shitting the bull.
I divorced from you. No more. You do cooking yourself.
Hardy held up his hands in supplication. He regarded Ball as if they were the only two reasonable men on the planet. It occurred to Ball that might very well be the case, although he had never known a man with exceptional reasoning to get his foot caught in a toilet while he was peeping in a bathroom window. In any case, as Sheriff of Splittail, this was his great commission, to be supremely reasonable in a world incapable of reasoning itself. And the overarching fact of the matter was this. It didn't stand to reason that arresting Mr. Sindhu tonight would affect the societal good or bad. Like any respectable profession, the best result you could hope for was to get through it without hurting too many people. And hadn't Hardy been operating within those boundaries? Because whether there's an Indian peeping in the window or not, we've all got to take a shit. And who was Hardy but a little black fly perched on the wall, watching your ass 100 times over in its compound eyes, and maybe jerking off just a little? No one worth missing dinner over, Ball reasoned.
Well, listen, ma'am. The way I see it, we've only got two options. We could wait until Ms. Clarissa in there gets done doing her business and see if she wants to press charges, or you can retrieve your husband here and 23 skidoo before any of that becomes necessary. And I'll remind you, Mrs. Sindhu, that even if you intend to divorce this nice man, you are currently married to him, and any damages he may end up on the hook for may also apply to you.
Her eyes went wide at that, quite the desired effect. Ball wasn't sure how accurate the warning had been, but in police work, the end often justifies the means.
Ain't that right, Deputy?
Dingle was pacing by the bathroom window, muffled from within quaintest reverberations. With each, Dingle's head twitched to the window like a watchdog. Hardy eyed him ruefully.
Ain't that right, Deputy?
Dingle turned his head.
Well, certainly, Sheriff. It is a nice night.
Ball shook his head and returned his attention to the scorned woman. She seemed resigned at best, according to his keenest police instincts. But with the three of them alone, discounting Dingle, who was preoccupied at the moment, he wondered if he couldn't offer a little help for the troubled couple while he was at it. He was here to help, after all.
Not to come across so negative, ma'am,
he said.
It ain't really so bad. See, what I'm trying to say is this. Tomorrow's a brand new day. But what's already happened tonight can't be helped, and I guess whatever Mr. Hardy may or may not have done in the past, maybe that can't be helped either. But what good man in this world has no bad in him whatsoever? And that little bit of bad, well, that don't hardly make him all bad, does it? That's why everyone needs a second chance from time to time, because each new day brings a chance for redemption. And tomorrow morning, when the sun casts everything in a new light, when the daisies and the petunias spread their petals to embrace the day, maybe you two can start things over. I say to both of you this very night, when the sun rises anew, it rises on a fresh, new Sindhu household. All transgressions forgot, and by nightfall, you'll both be out hunting spices, together. And I just know you'll do the most delicious cooking, because together, you're greater than the sum of your parts, like two nice petals on a fresh petunia. Ain't that right, Dingle? Ain't they just...
And that was about as far as he got. Dingle, hearing his name, pulled his gaze from Clarissa's bathroom window. His reverie broken, he noticed a lightness in his holster. On the heels of that, they both saw the glint of the .357 leveled at Hardy. His eyes got big.
Now, ma'am,
Ball said. The toilet inside flushed. As if on cue, the gun went off. Mrs. Sindhu's arms flew upward, and likewise did her husband as the round blew off his lower jaw. Strange matter specked the window. Clarissa peeked out from behind it with her eyebrows like a muppet.
"Oh, shit!"
said Dingle. He'd dropped his hat, but his erection was quickly subsiding. The crazed woman had held on to the gun and was composing herself for another shot.
Ma'am,
Ball said,
I was just saying some real nice things about you two, and look what you went and did.
Hardy's face was pouring blood, his tongue lolling loosely in absence of his jaw. How he was still conscious, Ball had no idea, but he was. He held up his hands to indicate he'd gotten the message. Dingle stood flattened against the siding as if he'd hoped to camouflage himself there.
I think you made your point, ma'am. Why don't we just...
Another shot, this one sending Hardy's turban into the air.
"Bastard. Peeping bastard. No more shitting the bull to me."
Clarissa came out of the screen door and beheld the mess. The toilet, in mid-tip, went over and took Hardy with it. An audible snap as his knee went sideways and left the bone peeking out of his pant leg. He was quiet now. Everyone was. All eyes were on Mrs. Sindhu.
Goddamn,
Clarissa said.
so much for the goddamn tomatoes.
Mrs. Sindhu dropped the .357. Her eyes looked glassy. Ball indicated for Dingle to retrieve the gun. Hardy, Ball noted with the shine of his flashlight, was suitably de-brained by the second shot, making the reconciliation he was suggesting very unlikely. But was all lost? Did no truth remain in his words? A glance upward revealed the turban sitting on the end of a branch like a bloodied beehive. It looked strangely at home, like it belonged there somehow. He broke the silence.
Now, Mrs. Sindhu, that wasn't very nice. But then again, I suppose it wasn't really nice what he did either. I guess the question now is,
Dingle retrieved the gun and reholstered it. That done, he pulled the cuffs from his belt and advanced towards the stunned woman.
Whoa, Deputy,
Ball said.
let's think this out a moment.
Dingle looked back with his eyebrow raised.
Sheriff?
Well, if you really stop to think about it, maybe what she did is more of a justified shooting. I mean, when you really stop and rub your belly and really think on it.
But how so, Sheriff? She lifted my gun when I wasn't looking. And goddamn shot the man. Twice.
Well, she shot a Peeper, that's for sure. Trespassing on this poor young lady's property. For who knows what reason. Could be he intended to rape, maybe murder innocent Clarissa here. Hell, Deputy, Mrs. Sindhu might have saved Miss Clarissa's life for all we know.
Dingle seemed dumbstruck. The formerly crazed woman did too, but in a more comatose kind of way. Shocked, maybe.
Hell,
Ball went on.
she at least saved us a heap of paperwork, didn't she? I mean, we'd have been in the office all night if she hadn't justifiably shot the man like she did. Filling out forms, fetching vegetarian meals.
Justifiable as shit, if you ask me.
Agreed Clarissa.
I'd have shot the fuck my damn self if I had a damn gun. And if I hadn't been so consternated.
Ball nodded and stroked his mustache.
What do you think, Deputy? Sometimes situations just kind of resolve on their own, don't they?
Dingle's face seemed to file through its different stages of understanding. In the end, it landed on something like acquiescence.
Well, maybe they do, Sheriff.
As long as someone resolves my goddamn maters.
Clarissa said. Ball nodded.
Deputy, why don't you help me get this gentleman out of Miss Clarissa's estate there, so we can go ahead and call it an evening?
Dingle eyed the bloody and pulp-skulled Hardy dangling from his porcelain snare, his throat convulsing. Ball preparing for the effort with a series of head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Goddamn undignified,
he said. The man's state of deceasedness allowed for a fairly easy extraction from the gooseneck. One good tug, and the foot came free. Its corresponding sandals sadly forfeit. Ball and Dingle dropped the dead man in the trunk of the big-ass sedan while Mrs. Sindhu watched stupidly. What remained of the man's brains cascaded into the spare tire cavity. Dingle, whose Adam's apple had been a bobbing the whole way, added to the mess a gut full of barf.
Deputy, have some respect for the dead.
I'm sorry, Sheriff.
With that, Ball lowered the lid, and with the click of the latch, it was case closed. Once Mrs. Sindhu was convinced to part with $20 for Mrs. Clarissa's goddamn tomatoes, Ball led her back to her car. The look on her face was that of a woman whose life had been changed in an instant. Because it had, he reckoned. Because situations like this happened all the time, each one with its corresponding radio code, which made things seem just as simple as that. But things were never just as simple as that. When it came down to it, about the only way you could deal with things was to try not to make them even worse. And with everyone creating all these situations, what good did it do to cause any more damage? No more good than doing nothing at all, at least where getting dinner was concerned. Ball sat Mrs. Sindhu in the driver's seat. Her eyes in the moonlight were white all around the irises.
Will I be punished?
She asked, as if the sheriff himself were God on high. a bearded deity among the clouds, or a floating elephant with 15 arms. Ball was none of those things. In terrestrial terms, he was the High Sheriff of Splittail County. In the grand scheme of things, he was no more than a man nearing the end of his shift. A man completely and utterly without a hot dog. Hardly one to cast judgment, because any way you look at the big picture, whether through the rosy lenses of religion or the bathroom window of some young gal's trailer, things were going the way they were going. All the way of Clarissa's suppository. Ball took a scratch pad from his back pocket, scribbled down a nearby address, and underlined it several times for emphasis. He folded the paper and handed it to her.
Will you be punished?
Ball said.
You damn well may be, but not here. Not today.
A little bird landed next to Hardy's turban, pecked at it a couple of times, and then flew away disinterestedly.
Not at all, Frankie,
Ball said into his radio.
Just a little misunderstanding is all.
Copy that, Unit 1.
It had taken Dingle a minute to rekindle his appetite after the gory scene at the Royalty Deluxe. But how long could a man sit smelling a hot dog before the nitrates of the human spirit killed off the bacteria of an impure world? Not long at all. And besides, having barfed out his previous, Dingle had a hot dog-shaped pit in his stomach no kind of moralism could fill. Out with the old, in with the new. All transgressions forgot. Old cases closed.
It's like my uncle used to tell me.
Dingle said.
Sometimes a man uses the toilet. Other times the toilet uses you.
Words of wisdom,
Ball said.
At least I suppose so.
He drank a fair bit.
Dingle said. The two sat eating their hot dogs, watching the clock run out on their shift. 20 more minutes, and it was back to the station and back home. Not a paper to be filled out. Not a worry in the world. Tomorrow was another day. Second chances, blooming petunias, and the never-ending pursuit of law and order.
Hey, Sheriff, what do you suppose Mrs. Sindhu means to do with the dearly departed?
Well, goddamn,
Ball said.
I nearly forgot.
Ball set down his hot dog and pulled out his phone. He dialed a number and held it to his ear.
Evening, Mr. Laundry. This is Sheriff Ball. Yes, sir. About that favor. Obliged? Well, I'm glad you feel that way. See, a nice young lady'll be popping up in a little while. That's right. Well, I hope those pigs of yours are hungry, Mr. Laundry, 'cause tonight they're eating hearty.
Chilling tales for dark nights.